Hello everyone, my name is Mason Record, and this is my presentation over the predator-prey distribution of gray wolves and white-tailed deer in Michigan. A little bit of an introduction. So I do have a hunting background, but the area I hunt in Arkansas has a very big hog problem, and this has caused the deer around to become more skittish and possibly come around to our feeding areas less. With this being the case, I wanted to see how a true predator, like that of the gray wolf, which actively hunts out deer, would cause less sightings of deer on the camera traps in Michigan. Wolves are apex predators that can travel up to 30 miles in search of prey, and they are extremely territorial, making overall populations within an area smaller. I wanted to see how this behavior would show up on a camera trap compared to abundant deer, and also if this established territory would cause the deer to stray away from camera traps that also captured wolves. White-tailed deer are very smart and won't change their feeding habits with the addition of a predator, knowing they are faster and can get away when needed. However, if they pattern wolves to an area or see wolves in that area, I wanted to know if the deer would avoid these areas, since wolves will actively hunt out deer in packs, unlike many other North American predators which are opportunistic with deer. My research question is, how will the primary predator, this being wolves, affect the population and abundance of the primary prey, this being deer, of a population? My objective is to determine proportion of white-tailed deer and gray wolves in major populations across Michigan and see how the populations correlate. My hypothesis is that this direct predator will keep deer away from the camera traps for a more proportionate documentation, where normally prey would outnumber predators greatly. My methods. First, I analyzed Snapshot U.S.A. for populations of gray wolves and deer in Michigan. With the filters I used, this ended up being only 2021 data with more than 100 camera traps. Then I determined the amount of each species in the camera data through Wildlife Insights. And then I collected the data and graphed into pie charts for visible proportions. These are my results. As you can see, this first pie chart is Upper Michigan with 753 wolves and 26,802 deer. And the next pie chart is the Lower Peninsula with 883 wolves and 58,707 deer. As you can see, there's a very drastic difference in the two populations, with the proportion varying greater in the Lower Peninsula due to there being more sightings overall. Discussion/interpretation. My hypothesis was not supported, and I believe this is the case because of how far wolves travel, as well as how territorial they are, ultimately leading to less sightings of wolves and more opportunities for the deer to forage around the camera traps. I believe there was less unique wolves being sighted than originally anticipated, due again because of how territorial the wolves are, and also how limited the pack size is compared to deer, which will actually group up even more to maintain safety. I do think that the reason there is a consistent amount of wolves, even with the greater amount of deer in the Lower Peninsula, is because that same wolf pack will be more consistent than the amount of deer in a group, even when foraging in the same spot. And if I were to continue this research in the future, given what we know about gray wolves and whitetail, I would try and find a much bigger population, one preferably in mainland Alaska, and a much smaller population like that of a reserve, to see how the greater and lesser travel area affects the proportion of wolf sightings to deer sightings on the camera traps. For the reserve, this would keep the wolves closer, and for the mainland Alaska, this would keep the wolves traveling even further. And I wanted to see how this would affect the opportunities that the deer take to get to the foraging areas covered by the camera traps. And these are my references. Thank you.